Hello, good evening. Today we'll talk about my note-taking system and how it has changed over the last few months. A few months ago, I think in November, now it's July, so half a year ago, I made a video about how I use orgmode for a lot of parts of my life. Academic for university, but also privately in personal life to organize things, in some aspects to plan or manage life, and even just for small little daily tasks. And since then, I've mainly been going away from that system because I just didn't find it as useful anymore. Uh, and now I'll go into the reasons as to why it has been happening and why I have been going away from that. Primarily, one problem that I always did face with it, uh, that I didn't notice too much while I was still, how do I put it, in the early stages with Emacs, while my perception of it was still very optimistic and seeing it in a better way than it is. I didn't notice a few things. Mainly that it takes extremely long to boot up. And when a program takes 1 or 2 seconds to boot up, that's just a little, not a barrier to entry, but if I want to write something down and I know the way there will not be instantaneous or as fast as it could be, and it's not under my control, then it does upset me. And it often does lead me to just not write it down. Uh, and even back then, one thing that I always had with me, that I still always have with me, uh, is this little Leuchtturm notebook. I started using it, it says on the top, also in November of 2024. And ever since, it has been a good companion. I use it mainly for very basic tasks. So let me try to find something illustrative. Here, for example, it's just one page and it has some to-dos on it. It has things I have to buy at a supermarket, things I have to do on Friday and the weekend, and also things I have to do on Monday and Tuesday of the week of the 28th of February this year, so 25. And that's just very useful because I always have it in the left pocket of my trousers and it's always accessible. As you see, there's also a pen loop on the side in which I have my Lamy pen. So the speed in which I can open a page and write something down is only depending on me and not on clock cycles of my processor or how efficiently a program is written. And that just makes it a much calmer experience because I'm not just spamming super E, the command I normally had used to open Emacs with, and instead I can just pull it out while I'm doing something else and I write something down. And just having that is very effective. Some weeks it allows me to do much more than I otherwise would have. When I just would write notes down or things I have to do in Emacs, and then just kind of forget about having even written them down there the rest of the day. And it's just not something you have with paper. So that's the next thing I want to talk about. When you have something written down on, or when you have written it down digitally, when you have it in orgmode, when you have it in Emacs or in any plain text file, or say even Google Notes or something, then to display that, to have it on the side, to always be aware of it, you do need some monitor space. And instead, if you just have a notebook laying around, you probably have a desk of 2 square meters, and that will occupy a tiny bit of it. So you can just let it lay around, you can put it on a book stand, and it doesn't occupy any space that you would otherwise need to work with or use for something else. Instead, it can just be something that's always present, that's always on the side, and that's been pretty helpful to me, or that was one of the big aspects. But not only in taking little notes for daily life, I've gone more and more back to paper. To go to uni notes I've taken over the last semester, which by the way was the first semester, so it was not the most organized, and I did not really know what I am doing. I wrote a lot down on my books tablet here because it was pretty fine. It worked. The notes app is okay, but that was fine for writing down notes, not for retrieving them, not for reading them. It does have a nice option that you can automatically export every note to a PDF in a specific folder, and then I would sync this via SyncThing to my other devices, and that was fine. The problem was just writing digitally. Writing is getting much bigger because you don't really have resistance with the pen, and you only have like I think 228 points per inch instead of infinity on paper. Infinite on paper, not infinity. And they're just those little annoying things. And then when I was in my exam phase, I didn't use any of my notes to prepare for the exams because I just couldn't. I couldn't really use them. They were so far spread apart in the PDF. And now instead, I've just always had one A4 notebook with me in uni, and I just write everything down in here. And I try to put as much metadata on them as possible. So here you see HM92, which means higher mathematics, so analysis, tutorium. That's not a 9.2. I have no idea what it's supposed to say. Nah, I'm clueless. The point is, the subject in which it was written is put on it. And then to not just have all the different topics in here, from maths to technical CS to other maths, I got a bunch of such binders. This is the linear algebra one, and then I just put all the notes in here, not indexed really, but just chronologically on how I've written them. And that way, before the exam, or not before the exam, but the months leading to the exam in preparation to it, I can just go through all my notes very orderly. And most importantly, I can skip 20 pages or so, skim through it, and not have all the problems I would have with a PDF. With Syriac, my current PDF viewer, I think my last video was about that. I do already have a lot of key maps and such there, which is pretty helpful, but nothing can be quite as good as just skimming through a few pieces of paper, because it's that much better of a user experience. And for all those reasons, for it being more annoying to write on tablet, for it being more annoying to go through PDFs, I have been going back to paper in that aspect. And now I think pretty much all the notes I have made this semester or were exclusively done on paper. There's one exception. I've been also studying a lot with Anki this semester, and to answer flashcards, I've mainly just written down the answers of the flashcards on paper to test if I really know them before I flip the card. And in that matter, I've just put pages full of answers to flashcards, and that works, but that's just a waste of paper, which I didn't like too much, because I will never look at them again, because most of the answers they are wrong, because I was still learning it. That I have been doing more and more on the tablet. But I have been doing them on the tablet because I will want to write it down with hand and then never look at it again. That's another use case. But let me continue. There are still a good amount of things that I do only electronically, or digitally rather. And let me come to that. It's I'm missing a few words. With papers or books, sometimes you want to have them digitally, or some media you want to have digitally, some not. Uh, so, for example, when I have books that I need to reference, then I do prefer the physical version, especially when I know I will work with them over a longer period. Uh, so currently I'm studying on matrix multiplications and in general computational linear algebra and figuring that out a bit. And on that topic, there are a few big books that I have gotten in paper, very cheaply used in uni, by the way. But that has been very helpful. I've gotten matrix computations of Jean Golub and it says here numerical algorithms in C. Those are both two books, around 30 to 40 years old. And to get into the topic, they're the elementary books. They don't have all the current algorithms. They will probably, in a lot of aspects, have worse explanations than Wikipedia, or just ways that you don't understand them as fast. But they do offer concrete courses on the whole topic, and that's nothing you will be able to find very easily on Wikipedia or such. There was one professor, or no, I think in both of these books, multiple professors or researchers, I'm not totally sure, that spent a lot of time thinking about the topic, thinking about how to lay out a course, lay out the book, and then you can just work through it all. And that enables you to, say, not just go on Wikipedia and read for 20 or 30, 40 minutes about an LU composition, but instead read the whole book up to the LU composition and then get it in a very different way. Because until then you will get a lot of other explanations on why you maybe needed preliminary things, and it's just much more useful to actually learn it. But say you only have to implement such an algorithm for one class once, then Wikipedia is fine, just not if you really want to get it. So these things I still use on paper rather, because that once again means it takes no screen space, or even that I don't need a computer to study it at all. But to come to a topic where I do need a digital version, where I really want to have it, is research papers. Because research papers are, at least in the field I do some very little research on, at least there the research is very volatile. Every other week there's a new paper that is potentially important to me, and I'm not going to print that out all, or going to print all that out, because it's not that important. I will read it once. I will hopefully remember what information was written down in that paper, and when I remember I do need that information again, then I will probably get back to it. And that's nothing I want to do with printed out media, especially not if I'm not sure if I will ever go back to it. I don't need to print out 20 pages, of which are 2 or 3 just references, to maybe go back to it. For that I do use, here I can show you, for that I do just use my Books tablet. I think it's a Tab Ultra, I know it's an older model, and it's big enough to support A4 pages, DIN A4, and that allows me to read on this size very well. And to gather and sort them all, I currently use Jabref. If you're not familiar with it, it's just an open source bibliography management tool. You could compare it to Zotero, but Zotero is written in JavaScript, and Jabref is written in Java, so at least that's kind of compiled, and that's a whole different topic. But I prefer Jabref because it's BibTeX based, and you don't just have to export all the time to get the BibTeX, which you probably want to operate on. Either way, as said, for papers, I definitely do prefer the digital version, because it's a much more volatile medium. It's a medium that's, let's be honest, most research papers are not too important. I'm sure most research papers I will write are not too important, and you don't need to have them printed out. You just need to read through them, retain some information, and your brain will figure out the garbage collection of the rest. And for that, I find the medium of a PDF instead of paper to be pretty good. Maybe to go on a little tangent, all the papers are synced to the tablet via SyncThing, so I always have them accessible when I annotate in the PDF on the tablet. Within a few seconds, the annotations are also on my laptop, given they are in the same Wi-Fi and SyncThing is currently connecting them. But yeah, that is about all I have to say on paper and paper alternatives. I will see where my way goes with that, because I will probably go more to paper. I do have here another Leuchtturm notebook that I have been using for around a year now. That has been pretty helpful for a bunch of things. So we'll maybe get more of them. And then I also have a huge Leuchtturm notebook that I've also been using for a couple things. But my main problem with that notebook is it's so huge that I have struggled really writing things onto it, because I want to sit down, write for half an hour, or at least I think so, and then I write everything that's in my brain, and when I'm done, I'm on like a page, and then I don't know what to add, and it basically feels nothing. But the huge format just allows you a different way of thinking. You can connect thoughts in other ways, you can put down more, and maybe eventually that will enable me to make use of it very well. Just currently I've not found a system for it yet. So let me know what you think. I would like to hear your input on it. Please reach out via mail if you have something to say. And see you the next time. Have a nice day. Bye.